वेव समिट के दूसरे दिन के मौके पर वहां पहुंच गए हैं आमिर खान, जिन्होंने न सिर्फ बॉलीवुड के बारे में बताया बल्कि अपनी पिक्चरों के बारे में भी बातचीत की।
I have always believed that in India we have very few theatres for the size of the country and for the number of people living in India. We have very few theatres. So just to give an example, and my data is usually wrong, so you correct me. But in India we have around 10,000 screens, 9,200, so roughly 10,000. In the US, which is 1/3 our population, or maybe 1/4 our population, they have 40,000 screens. So they are way ahead of us, though they have less population. China has 90,000 or 100,000. 90,000. 90,000 screens in China compared to our 10,000. Now, even in this 10,000, half of them are in the south and half are for the rest of the country. So for a Hindi film, typically you have a maximum of 5,000 screens. Our biggest hits over the years, no matter which film it is, has had a theatrical footfall of 3 crore people or 3.5 crore people. Am I saying the right thing? That's what percentage of our population? 1, 2%? So 2% of our population in a country which is recognized as a film-loving country, only 2% of the population watches our biggest hit in theatres. So where is the remaining 98% watching the film? So my belief has always been that we need to have a lot more theatres in India, and theatres of different kinds, and there are so many districts, there are tracts of areas in India, vast areas which don't have a single theatre for people to watch films.
मैं ऑफिस जाता हूँ. I better go to office now.
You get to work.
No, you can open those theatres. Who's stopping you? You know, that's what he's saying.
So I feel that one of the biggest issues that we have faced over the decades is we just don't have enough screens. And according to me, that is what we should be investing in. According to me, India has a huge potential, massive potential. But that potential will only be realized when you have those point of sales across the country. If you don't, then I just can't watch the film. I can hear about it. For example, if I'm living in the Konkan area, there's no theatre there. I can hear about the film. I can see the chatter online. But I can't watch it. There's no way I can watch it unless I go piracy. So in a legal manner, it is not possible for me to watch the film. And that's a very unfortunate situation. So the first thing we need to do is we must have more screens. We have a lot of potential for screens in India. You see, earlier films would come in theatres, and then it would, I remember many years back, it would be a year later it would be on satellite. Then it became 8 months later on satellite. Then it became 6 months later on satellite. So what happens is I have a choice as an audience that, okay, I can watch the film in the theatre as it releases, or I can wait 6 months and watch it on satellite. Today what is happening is that, and I've said this one place earlier, if I'm selling you this, whatever is in my hand, and we sell so many products in the world, I want to know if any product has this business model. Here is something I'm selling you, please buy it from me, I tell you. Buy it from me for 10 rupees, 100 rupees, whatever the cost may be. And if you don't, I'll come and drop it at your house after 8 weeks. This is the business model we are currently following. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because when a film is releasing, I know I can go to the theatre and pay for it. Or I can wait for it to come on OTT and I can watch it. I have already paid for it. So, if I have to be very honest to my audience when I'm marketing my film, I have to tell my audience that, guys, my film is releasing. But all those people who are on this particular subscription, on this particular OTT, they've already got my film. They don't need to come to the theatres. The ones who are not in this OTT, please come and watch my film. This is my communication that I'll have to make in all honesty, which is a very awkward communication. So according to me, that window is too small. That between the theatrical and OTT, you're killing your own business. If I tell you buy a Maruti car, and if you don't, I'll drop it at your house after 4 weeks. Why will you buy it? You will say, yes, drop it at my house after 8 weeks. I'll wait. And in a price-sensitive country like India, this matters a big deal. So I seriously feel that you have to, this is something that needs to be looked at, in my opinion.
No.
Okay.
I haven't followed that because for me, making a film, the decision to make a film has very rarely connected to its distribution. It's the material that excites me, and then I want to make that. And so I don't think कि यार ये China में चलेगी or this has potential in China, because with great difficulty I understand what's working in India. So what's working in China I really don't have an idea. But I think Chuck is so right. In his observation that we as Indians, we make films for our own audience, and we don't even think of an international audience. Now, one of the reasons is that we have a large and healthy audience of our own, and in different languages for that matter, because India doesn't only make Hindi films, they make multiple languages, and each language has a very strong and vibrant audience. So I think for us, often as filmmakers over the decades, I feel my common sense tells me that because the filmmakers were making films for their own audience, they didn't think of an audience outside of India. Also, when you're making a film for the world, then your manner of communication might have to change a little bit. Your manner in which you communicate, not the story itself, because I feel the more local you are in your selection of content, the more global you are quite naturally. Because as an audience, when I'm watching a film from a different country, I get quite mesmerized by discovering how people live there, what is their culture. It's exciting for me. So I think that the more honest you are with where you come from, you actually do end up traveling a lot more. But what happens is that we have not spent time, I think as Indian producers and filmmakers, we have not spent time in trying to create a distribution channel. If we invest our time and effort in trying to create a distribution channel for our films in different countries and different parts of the world, then I think that will start happening. Because we haven't bothered only. Really, we haven't bothered. And it's a small film. If you want to release it in the US in a strong manner, then you'll have to have that kind of distribution, that kind of P&A that you want to put behind it. How do you raise that for a small film? So what happens is that if we spend dedicated time and effort in creating that pipeline outside of India, then a lot of films can use that pipeline.
Aamir, do you think what Chuck was saying, that because we sell our digital rights in 8 weeks, and the kind of contracts we sign actually come in the way of theatrical releases, so somewhere a certain amount of structure of how we are releasing needs to come into the business for us to actually go international?
No, actually we have to travel. See, if I need to know what's running in Italy or what the distribution system is there and how audiences react there, I mean, we have to spend some time there to understand what's happening.
These are your words, not mine.
मैं तो यही कहूँगा, I'm very happy my Indian movies and acting in them. बड़ा मजा आता है हमारी हिंदी फिल्म गाने पे डांस करना, बड़ा मजा आता है हिंदी डायलॉग्स बोलना, भटिंडा की सीखनी हूँ भाई, बार बार बोलना अच्छा लगता है. तो I feel that I'm,
और आपने तो कह भी दिया कि आप अपनी फेवरेट हो, तो why not?
I feel that line बहुत ही important है. It's very important because I think हर लड़की हर औरत को should always say this line कि मैं अपनी favorite हूँ boss. I think that's the best thing.
Yeah, only way to be. No, but so back to what I was trying to really say. Of course, you said that very famous line, but it is also true that lots of these actors that are not just representing international brands, but so many actors, not just the mainstream movie stars, but artists that are doing some incredible work and our cinema being recognized. Now, when you walk on a red carpet internationally, go for an event, it's not just the diaspora that knows you. There are countries beyond, the Asian countries that our films release in that are recognizing your work and acknowledging you. What has been your experience, or rather share one experience you've had where, like I know you've attended the Red Sea Festival recently, where you had people who are not from Asia and have not consumed a lot of our work, don't have come from our culture, but but I'm truly acknowledging the work we do. Have you had an experience that you'd like to share with us?
I think the global impact that films have is absolutely insane, because I have seen not just, of course, in the recent films, but this has happened to me in 2023 when I was in a taxi. I was in London, and he was a local, and he started singing my grandfather's song because he had watched all of Raj Kapoor's films. And he was like, I have seen his films and I can't believe that you are sitting here. And he actually sung in Hindi language. He sung Mera Juta Hai Jaan. So I think for me that was a really great moment of pride, because he also sang it so clearly in our Hindi bhasha that I felt that look at the impact, look at what is happening. And he actually, he made me realize that the kind of love that we as a nation, our films are getting, and the way we're still watching it. I think Dadaji's film was quite old.
Cinema, when we talk about cinema as a soft power, that is one thing it does. It makes us aware of other people, how they live, their cultures. I don't think 10 years ago we would have all met and had chats like this and shared panels. Now we share such a close relationship with actors, producers, directors from Bombay and actors from Hyderabad and further down south in Chennai. We all know each other so much more closely. I think the audience now, these days, when I go to Kashmir, when I was shooting there, when I'm shooting in Mussoorie, everywhere people know of you, and the only reason they know of you and about the South, for example, is because of cinema and no other reason. Now it's about how do we make the world know us more, be sensitive to us more, love our culture more, love our food more, love our songs more. Is how we did this is by increasing distribution. You in a way increased South's distribution to Hindi by helping Bahubali, and that opened doors. Now how do we set up something that increases distribution of Indian cinema to Europe and to the West and around the world, so they know more and more about us? Because growing up, I feel I knew more about the USA. I could tell you 10 cities from America. I can't tell you one city other than Dhaka from Bangladesh. Why do I know so much about the US even though none of my family has ever been there? Was because of cinema. You've seen so much of Hollywood cinema that you felt like you knew them, you knew more about them and you wanted to go there. And when I went to America, I realized that they didn't know much about. I had to tell them I'm from, they knew India, but they know Bombay, Delhi, and I'm like, I'm from the South. It's a part called Hyderabad. And I realized, I always wondered, are they ignorant? Why do I know more about them than they know about me? And I realized that it was their cinema. I've been watching it since childhood and they haven't watched it as much of it. So I think if we increase the penetration of cinema